Long ago and far away, in enchanted lands across the seas, lived kings and queens, princes and princesses, good fairies and wicked witches, ferocious giants and gentle dwarfs. Their adventures and stories have been told for hundreds of years. Open the pages and listen to the words, and you too can join the magical world of Once Upon a Time.
The Happy Prince. Once upon a time, there was a magnificent statue that stood in the middle of a large city square. It was the statue of a handsome prince, and it was covered from head to toe in fine gold leaf. For eyes he had 2 bright sapphires, and a large ruby sparkled on his golden sword. All who saw him admired him. He was the pride of the city. By day he always looked happy, so that all the people of the city called him the Happy Prince, and he was an inspiration to everyone. "Why can't you be like the Happy Prince?" mothers would tell their children whenever they cried. "The Happy Prince never cries for anything. He's always happy." "Well, at least someone in this world is happy," muttered a miserable man as he looked at the incredible gleaming statue. But the nights were a lonely time for the Happy Prince. All his visitors came to him in the daytime, until one night a swallow landed at his feet. "It's rather pleasant being bathed in this gold light," he said to himself. And then, just as he was tucking his head under his wing to go to sleep, a large drop of water fell on his head. The swallow shook the water out of his feathers. Another large drop of rain fell. "What use is this statue if it doesn't keep the rain off? I better go and find myself a chimney pot. That would shelter me better." But before he had the chance to fly away, another drop fell. The swallow looked up. And what did he see? The eyes of the Happy Prince were filled with tears. The tears were streaming down his cheeks. The Happy Prince looked so sad that the swallow was full of pity for him. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am the Happy Prince." "You don't look very happy," said the swallow. "Look, you've soaked my feathers with all your crying." "When I was alive and had a human heart, I didn't know what unhappiness was. During the day I played with my companions in the garden, and in the evening I would dance in the great hall. My courtiers called me the Happy Prince, and happy indeed I was. When I died, they put this statue up in my memory. But they have set me up so high that I can see all the ugliness and all the misery of the city. Although my heart is made of lead, I cannot help weeping at all the misery I see." The swallow flew up onto the prince's shoulder. He sung to him to try and comfort him. But the tears kept on falling, and then the prince started to tell the little bird a sad tale. "On the other side of this great city," he said, "there is a very sad family living in a poor house. When I look through the window, I can see a woman seated at a table. Her face is thin and worn, and her hands are coarse after being pricked by the needle, for she is a seamstress. She is embroidering delicate flowers on a satin gown for one of the Queen's maids of honor to wear at the court ball. In a little bed, in the same room, a young boy is lying ill. He has a fever and is asking for oranges, but his mother has nothing to give him except river water. The poor little mite is crying out." "What a sad story," said the swallow, whose eyes were also filled with tears by now. "Swallow, oh lovely swallow, will you take her, the ruby, from my sword hilt? If I could, I would take it myself, but my feet are stuck to this pedestal, and I can't move a single inch." "I have friends waiting for me in Egypt," said the swallow. "They're flying up and down the Nile, talking to large lotus flowers, and resting in the wonderful hot sun. I cannot stay here in this cold climate. Swallow, little Swallow, begged the prince, please stay with me for just one night and be my messenger. The boy is so hungry, and the mother so sad. I don't think I like boys, answered the swallow. Last summer, when I was staying in the countryside, I was happily flying over one of the gardens when a group of rude boys threw stones at me. They didn't hit me, of course. We swallows fly far too well for that. But the swallow knew the prince hadn't been listening to him, and the prince looked so sad that he couldn't help taking pity on him. All right, I will stay with you for just one night and be your messenger. Thank you, little swallow, said the prince. Then the swallow did what the prince had asked him to do. He pecked the great ruby from the prince's sword and flew away with it in his beak over all the roofs of the city. On his way to the seamstress's house, the swallow passed by the cathedral tower with its beautiful marble angels. Then he flew over the royal palace, where he heard the sound of laughter and dancing. A beautiful girl came out onto the balcony. She was chatting to her friend. Oh, I do hope my dress will be ready in time for the court ball. I've ordered exotic flowers to be embroidered on it, but you know seamstresses, they're all so lazy, she said. Then the swallow passed over the river and saw lanterns hanging to the masts of the ships. This made him feel homesick for Egypt. He knew it was just a sea journey away. At last, the swallow came to the poor house, and he peeped in through the window. The boy was tossing feverishly on his bed, and his mother, worn out with hard work, had fallen asleep. The little swallow flew gently around the boy's bed, fanning the boy's hot forehead with his wings. How cool I feel, said the boy. I feel better than I've ever felt. Then the boy fell into a deep sleep. The precious jewels sat on the table, ready to surprise the boy and his mother when they both woke up. Then the swallow flew straight back to the happy prince and told him exactly what he had done. It's very odd, remarked the swallow. I feel quite warm now, even though it's bitterly cold outside. That is because you have done a good deed, said the prince. And then the swallow began to think about what the prince had said, and he fell asleep, because thinking always made him feel sleepy. The next day, the swallow flew down to the river and had a bath. As he was cleaning himself, a bird watcher walked by. How remarkable, he said. A swallow in winter. And he wrote a long letter about it to a local newspaper. Everyone in the city talked about it the day after it was printed. Tonight's the night I will go to Egypt, said the swallow, and he was very excited at the idea. Then he flew back to the happy prince. I am off to Egypt, he said. Swallow, lovely swallow, said the happy prince, will you not stay with me for just one more night? But I have friends waiting for me in Egypt, the swallow told him. Swallow, dear little swallow, said the happy prince, if you fly far away across the city, you will see a young man in a garret. He is leaning over a desk that is covered with papers. He's a handsome young man with large dark eyes, and he's trying to finish a play for the director of the theatre. But his hands are so cold that he cannot write anymore. There is no fire in the grate, and the lack of food has made him feel faint. The prince looked so sad that the swallow couldn't refuse his request. All right, I will wait with you just one night longer, said the kind-hearted swallow. Do you want me to take him another ruby? Sadly, I have no rubies left now, said the prince. My eyes are all that I have left. They are made of sparkling deep blue sapphires which were brought from India a long time ago. Pluck one of them out and take it to him. He will be able to sell it to the jeweler, buy firewood, and finish writing his play. "Dear Prince," said the Swallow, "I cannot do that." And he began to weep. "Swallow, Swallow, dear little Swallow," said the Prince, "do as I command you." So the Swallow plucked out the Prince's eye and flew away to the student's garret. It was easy for him to get in, as there was a hole in the window. When the bird got into the room, the young man was talking to himself, so he didn't hear the flutter of the bird's wings. "Why can't I write?" he cried, as he held the pen to the paper. And in despair he fell asleep.
It's time to turn over to side 2.